G'day, everybody, and welcome to another DUC Migrating to Australia podcast. My name is Wes Zandt, and today I'm actually joined by a really good guest. I'm actually joined by one of our employers. So, Deborah, welcome.
Thank you.
So, I really appreciate you taking the time out on a Tuesday morning because I assume your business, Water2water, will be pretty busy at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, we're really busy at the moment. We're very appreciative to have had some new employees just start. That's for sure.
Yeah, really good. So, let's get right into it. So, what is Water2water?
We're a water filtration company based in WA, privately owned and operated, and we specialize in servicing, maintaining, repairing, and supplying all brands of drinking water filter systems. So yeah, we've got a lot of corporate mining clients. We have residential, domestic clients, but yeah, it's a niche area, water filtration.
Yeah, good stuff. And how long you had the company for, Deborah?
We're in our 27th year.
Wow. Are you the founder and owner of the business?
Yeah, so I'm in a partnership, and it's a privately owned family company.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. Okay, so you reached out to, geez, when did you reach out to us looking for plumbers?
It was about maybe 12 months ago.
Yeah,
We
12.
actually had a young guy who was already in Australia wanting to join us, and he had started coming in using you guys, and so we reached out, and we've been going very well ever since.
Yeah, good stuff. So, guys, just with that, like it's very common for working holiday makers to be here in Australia if they're maybe they're looking to apply for their skilled independent visa, and maybe time's against them. They don't get an invite, visas are expiring, or they meet a good company that are interested in offering an employer-sponsored visa. Which is what Deborah's done for a couple of the guys, which is really good. So let's just talk about the employer-sponsored visa because we do this in the podcast, Deborah, where we speak to the migrant about where they're at. But I want to get it from the employer's part because the first gentleman that you sponsored, he was already in Australia, so you sort of got that. I guess we can call it try before you buy experience with him.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agreed. He came and had an interview. We really liked him. He's a really lovely young guy, has got his UK plumber's license, and it was looking like he would definitely be able to be sponsored in and get a visa to be able to stay here. So we started that process with him, and he's been absolutely brilliant. He is, he's still working towards getting his actual visa, whereas we've actually since already got two other guys with their visas have come in from the UK, but that's just because he's been a bit slow. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not because anyone else has held things up. It's just him and his partner have just taken their time to get that done.
Yeah, because there's a lot of information to gather, and we'll come back a bit later because we actually had like a world record time with for one of the other people you brought over, who I guess got all the documents correctly and immigration. That was crazy. Well, guys, just for the listeners out there, we actually got a visa granted for a 482. Was it 9 days, Deborah?
Oh gosh, I actually think, but from the time you guys lodged it, it was literally the next day the letter came
9 hours.
to
What about
say he
nine
was.
hours?
It was unbelievable, and we were all just absolutely gobsmacked. But this guy, a young guy as well with a family, they just did due diligence and they got all of their paperwork lined up and done, and everything that was submitted was correct. So there were no questions asked, and they just literally got approved overnight.
But that was just nuts. That never happens, Deborah, ever.
No,
We've
that
got
never
clients
happens.
that have got everything gathered that are waiting sometimes 9 months for the same sort of visa, same occupation, obviously
Yeah.
different employer, but
And look,
that's crazy.
this was actually from the time he contacted us and we made the offer of sponsoring and employment. It was probably about start to finish 5 months from the time we started that to the time maybe 4 months, and then he booked flights and then he was out here. So the whole process from the time we first started our discussions to the time he ended up here in Australia was around 5 months.
But that must be so hard as an employer because we're celebrating, going, wow, 5 months from having initial conversation to actually getting him over here, and we're celebrating the fact that his visa got granted so quick. So, how do you sit as an employer, going, well, we need people now? How do you manage your contracts and everything, knowing that 5 months is an amazing turnaround time? How do you manage that?
Well, it's very difficult, and especially in WA at the moment because there's such a shortage of staff. So I guess yeah, our existing employees have just been doing some overtime, and yeah, everyone's so relieved to have new people on board. But it's worth waiting for because yeah, the two guys or the three guys in total that we've taken on over the last 12 months are proving to be absolutely brilliant. Yeah, we're
What if
really
they
happy.
weren't brilliant, Deborah? What if they
If they
weren't?
weren't brilliant,
Yeah, what happens?
well, there is a cooling off period when people get here. If it doesn't work out for them and they don't like us and we don't like them, well, they can look for another sponsor. So,
Okay.
there is that opportunity, but, nothing's ever guaranteed. We're just very fortunate. We did a lot of work before bringing them over. We made a lot of contact with them, lots of discussion, FaceTime. I even FaceTimed their partners and their kids, and we all sort of really had got to know each other. And I, yeah, gave them some good tips about what they should be looking for and what they should be thinking about. Yeah, so you just need to
You
make
are
sure
awesome.
yeah, you just need to make sure you get to know the people. And the technology now is so great that you can actually have lots of conversations with people.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go back to the very start. So you reach out to the Down Under Centre. We go to set the company up to sponsor. So you've got to then advertise roles for a certain period of time. You've got to get us lots of information, and then we can submit the visa. So the first
Yeah.
thing we have to do is get your company set up to sponsor,
Yeah.
which allows you to sponsor for the next 5 years. How did you find that process? Was that invasive? Was that getting all your details from the business, or you were happy with that?
No, it was actually very easy for us because we had sponsored people in about 7 or 8 years ago. So it was just a renewal for us this time, but it was a very simple process to renew. Again, an
Good stuff.
overnight thing. I couldn't believe how quickly it was done.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a
Yeah.
visa of choice for immigration. Is it a visa of choice for migrants? That's I guess that's the $1 million question. And again, as I always say in these podcasts, guys, everything's different. Deborah's got, she just mentioned she spoke with the partner and the kids and all that. So obviously we've got a person who's just arrived with a family. And on a 482 visa, it is a temporary visa instead of a permanent visa. But it meant this family could be over in Australia really quickly. And it means that Deborah could crack on and get these guys working. So on the visa side, you get set up to sponsor, and then we then start sending you some CVs and everything like that.
Yeah, you were
How do
great.
you?
The amount of CVs that came my way was outstanding. So it was quite a process for me to go through. I couldn't look at all of them. Yeah, I just picked the ones that stood out the most, and yeah, we just went from there. But I'd
What
advertised.
makes a CV stand out, Deborah? What in your eyes? You had lots come through, but what made them stand out? What caught your attention?
They don't need to be very long. They just need to show a good history of staying with one employer for some time. For some time, I like that because it just shows commitment. People that jump around jobs every few months, that's not a good thing for us. Lots of training goes into any role where we put people into our business because we're specialized. So I like to think that people are going to be with us for quite a long time. So I look for that. Yeah, just quite straightforward. CVs are good, just easy to read, and yeah, for me, it's a big plus when someone shows that they have committed for some time to a single company.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Mm.
And are you looking? Do you look for any sort of? Does it matter what passport they hold when they're applying for jobs, or do you look for certain countries, maybe because they've got certain qualifications that you're more familiar with, or are you guys happy just to, if they tick the boxes, you happy to take anyone on?
We're happy to take anyone on if they tick the box. There's the
Yeah.
boxes that need to be ticked. We have to have people in our business who can speak English and write well because there's quite a lot of process and procedures that we need them to follow. But yeah, other than that, yeah, we're happy to take anybody on from any country.
But I think that's what blows my mind. You speak to people, so you look at a CV, and then from that you determine you're going to set up a meeting with them. So how does that work? Do you make contact with them directly?
Yeah, so I normally email first and I ask them to give me a bit of a rundown as to why they want to come to Australia, what they, what their expectations are, um, and then organize to make FaceTime or Teams contact. And then we have an initial chat and I tell them all about the different positives and negatives. I'm very straightforward and upfront about, what they need to expect when they get here. It Western Australia is not one of the cheapest places to live in, for example. Rents are quite high. So I really make sure that they understand that, based on what they'll be earning initially with us, it would, if they've got children, for example, they would probably like to, I would suggest to them that both parties need to be working, the husband and the wife,
Yep.
to make it work normally. Unless they're, really well off and they know that they can survive without two incomes. WA is not a cheap place to live. So I'm very upfront and honest about that. But the positives are that it's a fantastic place to live with children, especially with kids, young families. The weather, the beaches, even the families that have arrived have actually said, wow, it's just amazing because when you go out to entertain the children, you don't have to spend money. The weather's good.
Yeah.
People just,
Yeah.
you go to
Lifestyle.
a park and a picnic or the beach. It's all free. Yeah, the lifestyle's amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah, it is. It definitely. I think that's the key to people wanting to migrate to this beautiful country. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you look at the CV, you hit them up, you then arrange. You said that if you're happy with the CV, there's certain things that you want to, you look at, and then they send you a little bit more information on why about Australia. Is there anything particular as an employer that you look for when you're asking why do they want to move to Australia?
I like to know that they have some sort of connection here because it can be, uprooting everything and coming out to a new country and not knowing anybody. That to me would be quite a daunting thing. The people that have, the employees that have come out, they've all got some connection. So they either have family here or really close friends here already, or at least in Australia. So that's a plus to hear that. Um, yeah, and yeah, that's kind of, I just like to gauge, why they're looking at coming out. And most of them have
Yeah.
said that it's for the lifestyle and the other thing is that they've actually been to Australia before. That's good
Yep.
because they know a
Yep.
little bit about what they might be expecting to do.
Yeah, especially
But
weather-wise and
these
everything like
these
that.
these guys that came, they've done an incredible amount of research. So they had all the answers. They already, they've done their research into how much a trolley full of shopping is going to cost. So you just go online onto one of the Coles or Woolworths sites in Australia to work out, on a comparable thing, weekly spend, what the costs are like here. They'd already done all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's so good. So they're weighing up. So,
Yeah.
so during your initial, when they apply for the job, what are they asking you? So you're asking them those questions. What are they asking you? So let's move on to the interview when you have the formal interview with them. What are they asking you?
Just more about the work, what sort of work it is, and the hours and that sort of thing. They didn't actually ask me a lot of questions. They had done their research, so they pretty much knew what the role was going to be already, and yeah, so
And
they asked about
financially, how
where
does
to
that work?
live, about accommodation and suburbs. Those were some questions. So, we gave them some tips around, where they might find reasonable accommodation and things like that.
And what about wages and salary and everything? Do they come back to you? Do you have to explain like super and all that sort of stuff? As not many countries have the superannuation. Do
Yeah,
they
so
ask
I
about
did
that, or do
that.
they?
Yeah, I gave all that really clear information to them around the whole package because our package comes with obviously the wage. We only work 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 5 days a week. So we're not asking people to work long hours or weekends. We don't do much after hours stuff. So that's attractive to families, for example. And to people without families, it's really attractive here because of the lifestyle. They want their weekends because they want to go out and about.
Yeah.
And also, the superannuation is on top of that. They also get a vehicle with the job. They get all their uniforms and tools, and everything is supplied. So that's pretty attractive because when they land here, they literally get armed with a car, work boots, uniforms, a mobile phone. Everything's provided. So it's a really good little package for them. They don't have to start going out and finding tools or bring their tools with them if they don't want to.
And and my understanding for this boy who came out with his family that you actually used our home search service as well, Deborah, to
Yeah, he
so we got a
he
house when he
did.
arrived.
That was really good as well. So we offered to help him with that. You guys provide that service where basically you find them rental places. They look online, they say yes or no. And yeah, for some reason, it's very hard here to get a rental if you're not, I think if you're not here. So for these guys, they were thrilled. Got off the plane and literally went straight into the rental. Unbelievable, and very happy with it. So they get
Guys, I'd
shown
just like
video
to
of it, and they look around it online. And yeah, it was a really good service because sometimes when rentals go up in Western Australia around Perth, there can be 50 people going through looking at the home, the open day to see if they want to rent it. So there's often a big queue of people, but I don't know how this worked, but somehow they got the rental very quickly using you
yeah,
guys.
our team are pretty good with that. But I just want to mention, guys, as well, what Deborah offers, many employers don't. Some do, some don't. But it's not part of, don't go into these sponsored visas and expect employers to assist covering, like providing a car, phone, tools on arrival and everything like that, or assisting with their home search service and all the extra things that you're doing, Deborah. Because I also know that you also took them out for lunch and dinner, didn't you?
Yeah, so we're going to do a big barbecue for them. So yeah, so I just, it's nice on arrival. I mean, I think it's brilliant that people have got the courage to uproot the entire family and move them into a brand new country, send the kids to new schools. I think that's pretty courageous. And I think I take my hat off to people that are happy to make a massive lifestyle change. So yeah, I encourage that. And I think it's great. You can always go back if you don't like it. But to actually get, the whole family out here. Yeah. So on arrival, we met up a couple of days after they had got over their jet lag and went and had a bit of lunch and let the kids run around the park and all that sort of thing. And yeah, it's just a nice intro to the country. And the
I reckon it's
staff,
really
the other
special.
team members are on board even now, saying, "When can we do a catch up in the park? Let's get everyone together, all the families, and have a bit of a barbecue in the park on a Saturday afternoon with everybody, so all the families can meet."
Because you mentioned earlier, like the CV, you mentioned English speaking and everything as well. Because these people are representing your business. How do you feel about that? Like, at what point do you know when you're talking to someone online that this person is fine to represent my business, to go into a commercial setting, service these, water, like everything you're servicing? How do you know?
Well, I think over the years, Water2water have had a really good record with staff retention. And I guess you get a gut feeling about people when you speak to them. I did interview other people and they weren't employed because I didn't get that same feeling when I spoke to them on the phone, on FaceTime or whatever. You just have
Okay.
a good feeling. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but for us, 90% of the time it works really well, and we take that gut feeling and go with it. But you could
Yeah, because
employ
the last
people
thing you want
in
is
WA, and it would, just Australians here, which it's hard to get people. When you put an ad out in Australia, you really don't get many applicants. So it would be the same if I put someone on here. They're not necessarily going to work out. Often you've just got to, you know, just cross fingers and hope
well said.
everybody likes what they're doing and everybody likes each other.
Yeah, well said. I really Yeah, well said on that one too, because you can hire an Aussie as well, and it may not work out. So when you look at, I know lots of employers prefer bringing people on employer-sponsored visas because they're working for you for an agreed period of time. What's a benefit for you as an employer, on that?
Um, I don't really see that to me as a benefit. In our business, we want people to be working for us because they want to be working for us, not because they're on a, guaranteed time frame. They have to stay. And, I make that
Hmm.
really clear to all my staff that, I want people on board who are really enthusiastic and keen. So we don't have anyone working for us who doesn't want to be working for us. So for me, that question is, it's a no brainer. Whether or not they're tied to my business for a 3-year time frame, to me, it doesn't matter. They can leave if they want to. They can go and find another sponsor to sponsor them and change over to somebody else. There are some good incentives in WA. So when you come over, as soon as you get your first wage, you can start to apply for some government incentives. And I think, it's quite a few $1,000s that you can get back as an employee. And the employer as well can get government sponsorship money back, paid back to them as well. So there are some financial incentives. Again, for me, the financial incentive is not the big draw card because at the end of the day, I'm paying back to the guys quite a few fees that they've incurred. But again, like you said before,
Yeah.
not all employers will do that. So yeah, most of the fees that I'm going to get back from the government will be paid, have been, or will be paid back to the employee anyway to help them with their
Yeah.
costs.
And I think for the listeners out there, it's really important to understand the state government of Western Australia had that agreement. It's
Yeah,
not the state actually has that. And also we're dealing with plumbers, so plumbers obviously need to do for a plumbing registration because that's also a bit of pain in the backside for you as well,
yeah,
Deborah, because your guys coming over the WA regulator. Requires them to have an OTSR, offshore technical skills record, which is
yeah,
a document they get when they complete the skills assessment.
yeah.
Um, Heard that assessor's one handsome bloke too, Deborah. Don't know if you knew that, but the assessor out
Okay.
there who helps the plumbers if they're doing
Yeah,
that. Anyway,
yeah,
so they'll do their skills assessment, which is 5,320 Australian dollars of government fees,
yeah,
and then that will give them a provisional license.
yeah,
If you're in the UK and you've got a chance to get that done before you move, then I'll be your assessor and we'll do it from our UK office. If you're in Australia, you have to go to our Queensland office. So they've got to go from WA to Queensland, which is quite a stretch to do the practical assessment. And then when they've got that done, they go to the regulator and then they're issued a provisional registration, which gives them 12 months to then complete what is known as the gap training. And the gap training is the gap between what the migrant knows and has and what we assess them on through the skills assessment to the gap of what the regulator wants them to have. So for a plumber, water, sanitary, gas, drainage, roofing, and mechanical. You need to have a minimum of 4 units of the 4 units covered to complete it. But what Deborah wants is the workers to hold their full Australian qualification.
yeah,
So they can come and work on a provisional registration, and then also then get their full license at completion. And I think that's where the government grants come in really well for the migrants because the
yeah,
gap training is probably another $6,000. So
yeah. And
for the
then there's
guys going
also
to
the
WA,
cost.
it is an
Yeah, the
incentive.
cost of getting over to Queensland. I don't really understand why they have to go to Queensland, but they do. So there's that cost as well. So we help them with that, with the flights and
Yeah,
accommodation for that. And yeah, so it's the plumbing license part is a bit of a rigmarole, but I must say you guys have been really, really helpful. You're very quick to respond whenever the guys have a question or when we have a question about anything. You have been brilliant. Yeah, and I can't
yeah.
thank
We
you
we
enough
hate the
because
gap training.
yeah, yeah,
Like we Deborah, we get the state governments, the regulators, telling people to contact us, and we're like, don't contact us, contact the regulators.
yeah,
Like for anyone who's migrating over and you are a licensed trade, plumber, electrician, refrigeration mechanic, we've got Facebook groups and all that you can use and everything. But I always advise you speak to the regulator first because we've actually got nothing to sell you. We process the skills assessments, I guess. We're part of that processing pathway, but when it comes to the gap training, we can just sort of direct you through it. We get lots of people sort of, oh, but why, and they whinge to us, Deborah, but we have to do this, we have to do that. And I'm like, I didn't make the rules. We don't
Yeah.
profit from it. It's not something that we've invented so people have to do. But we will try and work with the states and the regulators and the migrants to direct them in the correct pathway. And Paul
Yeah.
does a really good job actually doing that, because that alone, you go to all that effort, Deborah, about helping them, covering some of the costs of their home search service, telling them where to live and everything like that, giving them ideas, talking to the families, doing that. They get here and then they get thrown into this whole world of what, I've got to retrain. Like who in their right mind wants to retrain?
Yeah.
Like I'd say probably 5% of people want to, I really enjoy retraining. Most of them are like, well, the more I'm retraining, the less I'm doing work, the less I'm going out having a surf and spending time with the kids. So it is a burden. So if we
Yeah.
can make that bit easier,
Yeah.
then it supports everything we're trying to do. But it's definitely
I
one of the
think
probably the more challenging things for our licensed trades. Can you feel the stress that they're under when they're doing all that?
a little bit, but I think if they're really good at what they do and they know their stuff, then the retraining for them is not such a big deal because they know most of what they're being retrained in. So it's not like they're doing a
Yep.
whole thing from scratch. So the younger guy that started with us last year, who was already here, he's gone through the skills assessment test and he's been to Queensland and done all of that. And yeah, he found that all fairly straightforward. He hasn't said he
Yeah,
struggled
if
with
you
it.
are a plumber, you will get through that
Yeah,
skills assessment. There's no,
yeah,
we're not out there to trick and make life harder.
no,
Um,
no.
all right, so we've gone through, I guess, a few things. So Perth's quite a big place. So where are you based? Is Water2water both sides of the river, or where are you
Yeah, so
based?
we have head office in Subiaco, which is really close to the city. It's about 3 kilometres away from the CBD. And but we cover all of the Perth metro area. So we have staff, not strategically, but just by how it happened. We have staff living quite in the southern suburbs, and we have lots of them up in the northern suburbs. So we cover the whole area, and we also have staff living, and we have a showroom and a workshop and everything in the Pilbara region, which is 2,000 kilometres north.
Wow.
Because we service the mining industry up there. So we do a lot of work for some massive mining companies and look after a lot of their drinking water assets, basically. So yeah, we have quite a big presence up in the northwest, which is where most of Australia's wealth comes from, is in that Pilbara region. That's where all the big miners are.
So WA, like me, tuning in from Victoria at the moment, it's referred from the other states and everything like that. It's referred to as a state that's really connected to the mining industry. Lots of people being drawn, working for Water2water and then being offered more money to go to the mines? Is that been an issue over the last sort of 10, 15 years, or that's just something that it is an issue and you just get to deal with now?
It has been a small issue because most times when we interview, we are really upfront about the fact that we're not a mining company and we're not wanting anyone to do fly in, fly out. Like, we're not a FIFO company. Um,
Yep.
we are very family orientated. So lots of people, especially with young kids who do that work, need to understand that they are most likely going to be away from their families for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. And if you've got 3 young kids, that doesn't always suit everybody. So we offer a really
No, I
good
couldn't do
wage
it.
and we're offering good conditions, but with really normal working hours. And we don't, we're not asking anyone to do shift work. So most of those highly paid mining jobs, you will be required to do a lot of travel. You'll be normally away from your families for quite a long time, and you'll be doing shift work. So you'll be working through the night,
Yeah.
and it's a very different
What's
industry.
the,
And yeah, sorry.
it's very much the opposite to what you guys are doing with your sort of, work
Yes.
hours, no overtime and everything like that, normal hours,
Yeah.
lifestyle and everything.
Yes.
Full credit to the miners to go out there and then work those hours. But I think what you find is they
Yes.
do it for a couple of years, save some money, and then,
Yes.
look at it as like a fun memory and that they'll never probably go back and do. And then others,
Yeah.
I guess, get stuck earning the money and then get stuck spending the money and then having
Yeah.
that lifestyle where they earn money, spend money. But each to their own. I
Yeah,
just know
absolutely.
that we get smashed with employers that are just saying we're just losing so many clients, or so many staff to the mines. We can't compete,
Yeah.
but we're
Well,
awesome businesses.
there are people out there that don't want to do that they don't want to be away. So even in the northwest towns, I've got people living inland in the middle of, literally, it's so remote, in a place called Tom Price. That's an 8-hour drive from the coastal town of Karratha, so it's a big drive in. We have had a full-time plumber living and working for us in that town. It's a really beautiful town. It's right near the Karajini National Park gorges, and it's an incredible
Wow.
place to visit. And he loves it up there, and he's been working for us for quite a lot of years now. He's brilliant, and he's a qualified plumber, Australian plumber. Um,
Good
and
on
then
you.
we also have the same, a great guy on the coast, a couple of guys. We've got, again, fully qualified plumber. He's worked for us now for quite a few years as well. Happy, doesn't want to do any shift work, doesn't, he's living in the mining, they're both living in towns where they could easily be drawn into the mining sites, but they're not interested because they know what that means to them. And it means they have no
Yeah.
weekends, no sort of proper routine, and they are going to be away from their families for extended periods of time, plus the night shift, the shift work thing. It doesn't suit everybody.
Well, Deborah, we did a poll on our Facebook group a while ago. I think it's like 3,700. These are paid clients. People are doing skilled visas and skills assessments and all that with us. And WA was I think it took like 60% of where people wanted to go to.
Yeah,
It's such a popular state of Australia. Like
yeah.
it's full of it's just full of great people. There's so much to offer. What is the lifestyle? What can people expect like the lifestyle in WA?
Well, the weather, but then saying that, it's been quite funny because since the new guys arrived the last 4 weeks, it's been bucketing down in Perth, which never happens. But they're still wearing shorts and
Blame
t-shirts, so
him.
it's quite, yeah, it's good. But no, the weather is phenomenal. We've got great beaches, great open spaces, free parks with free barbecues, and one of the mums said to me when she met me that she couldn't believe there were balloons out in a park. And she said, and then all these kids arrived. You have to pay to rent the park to have a party because there were barbecues there and everything all for free. And I said, no, it's all, you just get down there early, put your chair up and put your balloons up and away you go. So there's that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But also, the lifestyle, it's, very health orientated. We've got great food, great restaurants. The other good thing about WA is that if you're coming from Europe, it's so much closer to get back to Europe than the east coast of Australia, and people don't sometimes take that into account. So to get from the UK, you can do that direct flight now out of Heathrow straight to Perth. You're here in 16 hours, so it's pretty easy to get back to the UK, for example, if you need to go back in a hurry. So there's that, and also we're so close to Asia. So there's so many great places that you can visit here and at a reasonable price. Thailand, Bali, Vietnam. We're close to so many Asian destinations, so it's pretty good.
Deborah, my wife is not going to listen to this one. I'm going to make sure of that because she'll want me to move to WA.
Yeah,
One flight away from home in the UK, plus everything. I can see what draws. It sort of sells itself, doesn't it? WA. It's such a
yeah.
beautiful, beautiful part of the world. Have you always been you born and bred in WA?
No, so I was born in the UK. I was born in Kent.
Oh, you British.
Yeah, and then I grew up in
There you go. How long have you been here
yeah,
for?
a long time. So yes, I don't know, 40 odd years I've been in Australia, but I always go. I'm in the UK at least once a year, or Europe. I'll go back to Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, there's always that draw card to go back, but you always go back and think, no, I couldn't live here again. I'm going, I'm looking forward to going back home. But it's always great to visit.
Wow.
So good to visit. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a lovely place to go back to the UK and
Yeah.
visit. Everyone spend a
And
lot of time
my
there, so you get
teenage
good
years in
memories, got some good
Brighton.
mates.
fantastic place to grow up
What?
as
Sorry.
a teenager. Yeah, so I lived in Brighton for right throughout my teenage life. Fantastic place.
Wow, I never knew that. You don't have the accent.
Oh, really? When I go back there, I do.
No,
It comes
to
back.
me, you sound like an Aussie. I think I speak to half my staff are from the well, like lots of, we actually employ lots of previous migrants, which is nice. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sort of, I don't know. Apparently, my kids have an accent, but I just think they sound a bit Aussie. But I guess the people, your pommy workers, are they calling it water to water? Is that how they say it? Water,
Yeah,
water,
some of them
or they
do.
just
Some of them do.
really?
My brother, yeah,
Is
my
it
brother still has a bit of a more of an English accent, and he says water to water.
water? Funny how they
Yeah,
say that, isn't it? Water, water.
yeah,
Matthew from Water to Water.
yeah,
Look, Deborah, I want to thank you so much for honestly taking the time to let our listeners just sort of hear a bit about what the employer, because you're the one who has the risk. You're the one who puts your name down. You're the one who pays us fees. Obviously, the migrants got fees and everything like that. So, you're the one who takes time out of your day. Like, there's so much that goes into it. There's financial contributions, but there's time contributions,
yeah.
and there's risks that you have, but you brush it off.
Absolutely.
It's good.
Yeah, yeah. No, there are risks, but I have to say, and just so your listeners don't think I'm being paid to do this, because I'm not, but you guys have been really awesome to deal with. Really, really awesome. And I can't say enough about the dealings that we've had with you, because you have responded so quickly to everything. Every time we ask a question, I get a response immediately. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I thank you,
Yeah,
because you have done a brilliant job as far as helping us all through the process. So that's taken a lot of burden off myself. And every time I have a question about anything, I quickly will email you, and yeah, it's answered within minutes.
yeah. Well, now look, you are only. I think I'll pass those nice kind words over to our team and everything. But I think it's who you deal with, Deborah. If you guys are doing the same, you guys have been a pleasure to work with. But I'm just so grateful what you do for our clients. Like, it's amazing, and not all employers do that. So it is, it is a bit of a fairy tale, if you do get an opportunity to work for Water to Water. But obviously, you've still got to pay your taxes. You've still got to wake up every morning, go to work. You've still got
Yeah,
all the normal stuff, but you get to do it in environments with with people who care and people who are quite I'd say inviting and
yeah.
inclusive. Would you use the word inclusive as your business is when migrants come over? You seem like you're a very
Yeah,
inclusive
well, with our
company.
whole team, I'm quite a passionate person about, with my business, and I want, people joining us who are really highly skilled, want to be there, want to be happy, and that's a bit of that's a team effort. Everyone in our team has been really welcoming to the new guys that have come in. They're still all out together, so they go. We put them out with another technician for quite a few weeks so that they can pick up all the processes and how we do things. And yeah, the feedback's been brilliant so far. They absolutely, they've already made friendships, and yeah, it's great, really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Deborah, just thank you again for for joining us. Any tips you'd like to offer someone who's looking to let's go move to Western Australia? Any tips you'd like to advise before they think about coming to WA?
Yeah, just do your homework, do what our guys have done, which is just work out what the costs are, work out how you're going to cope financially here, and also yeah, that's kind of have some sort of
What about
connection to the place, I guess. That's probably a good tip. And
and as an employer?
yep.
Oh, sorry, you go.
No, you go. That's fine. As an employer.
I was going to say, as an employer, what would you say for someone who's going through interviews and everything like that? Maybe they haven't been successful, not so much with Water to Water, but with other companies. What advice would you give for someone who's having an interview with someone online?
Well, if they're coming from overseas and they're going to uproot their entire family, for example, they really need to try and get to know them a bit. Definitely, don't just do everything by email, because you know FaceTime and Teams or whatever method you use to make contact. If you can do some face-to-face interviews and chats, and just general chats. Like, I was in London in August, and I was going to try and meet up with not August, it was July. I was trying to meet up with these guys before they came out, but it didn't happen. But I FaceTimed them and had another chat to them. So just try and get to know people a bit. And that way you'll have a bit more of a gut feel around whether things are going to work or not. That's it, really.
Yeah, you're awesome. You're so good. Thank you so much again for your time. I hope you enjoyed that, listeners. And
and we'll
tune
be in
into
touch
our
if
next.
we need anyone else.
Yes. Well, I think this is really good for our plumbers that are listening. Sort of, they might signal your jobs out now, or speak to Lee and be like, "Hey, which one's Deborah's company?" And I hope they do, because you take care of it. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. Take care.